I still remember the exact moment the air in the living room turned colder than the marble floor beneath my feet. My mom's smile had been so bright just a second earlier, glowing with pride as she bragged, yet again, about how my sister had bought a beautiful home in the most elite area. She kept using those words, beautiful, elite, perfect, like she was seasoning her sentences with extra superiority just so I wouldn't dare compete. But then I opened my phone, scrolled through my gallery and casually showed them a video of my new condo, my $920,000 dream condo, the one I had kept a secret for so long, and instantly their faces froze like someone had hit a pause button on their emotions. My mom's eye twitched. My sister went silent. My dad cleared his throat like he was choking on his own disappointment. And in that moment I asked myself, was I wrong for finally showing them something I was genuinely proud of? Or were they just upset that I had broken the silent rule of our family? The rule that only my sister was allowed to shine. Tell me, if you were in my shoes, would you have done the same thing? Because everything I'm about to tell you is what led up to that moment, and trust me, it wasn't as simple or petty as it may sound. My life before that freeze-frame awkwardness was filled with years of comparisons, subtle insults, and this unspoken expectation that I was supposed to always be the one who settled for less. For as long as I can remember, my mom has had this strange obsession with my sister Alina. She wasn't just the favorite child, she was the trophy, the golden standard. The daughter my mom held up like a medal she had won in some imaginary parenting competition. And because of that, every single accomplishment of mine was either downplayed, ignored, or twisted into something unimpressive. When I got my first job, my mom said, "That's good, but Alina just got promoted." When I bought my first car, she said, "Nice, but Alina's planning on getting something bigger." When I moved into my first apartment, she said, "Cute, but Alina will own a house soon." It wasn't jealousy. It was more like frustration mixed with disbelief, like no matter what I did, I wasn't allowed to surpass this invisible line that separated me, the average kid, from Alina, the princess of the household. Even my dad, who usually stayed neutral, had a habit of saying, "Bader, it's good to be simple. Let your sister have the good things. She's older," as if age automatically entitled her to a better life, while I was supposed to stay in the background like some backup character whose only purpose was to clap when the main character got her spotlight. But what nobody in my family seemed to know, or even bothered to ask, was that I had been working my ass off for years. I had taken risks, failed, tried again, built connections, switched careers, learned skills, freelanced until 4 a.m., and saved every extra bit of money I could. While Alina's success was handed to her on a silver platter, family loans, dad's connections, mom's support, my success was built in the dark, brick by brick, with nobody cheering for me, nobody motivating me, and definitely nobody expecting me to achieve anything at all. So when my real estate investment finally paid off last year, and I cashed out enough profit to buy myself a condo worth $920,000, I didn't tell a single soul in my family. Not because I wanted to surprise them, but because I knew how they would react. They wouldn't congratulate me. They wouldn't be proud. They wouldn't celebrate. No, they would treat it like a competition I wasn't allowed to win. And I just didn't want that energy around something I had poured my heart into. But the universe has a strange sense of humor. And my moment of truth, where everything I had kept hidden collided with everything they believed, came unexpectedly during a family dinner. It was a casual Sunday evening gathering, one of those obligatory dinners where my mom cooked way too much food and my sister arrived bragging about her latest purchase, latest achievement, latest reason everyone should admire her. She had recently bought her first home, a 5-bedroom house in a posh area, which I later learned was funded largely by my parents, though they insisted on calling it helping their child start her life. The moment Alina entered the house that evening, she made sure her car keys clinked loudly so everyone would notice her brand new SUV. Then she dramatically placed them on the dining table, saying, "Sorry I'm late. The security at my new housing society is so tight." They treated me like some VIP. My mom laughed as if she were hearing the funniest joke of her life and said, "Well, of course they should treat you like VIP. You live in such an elite area now." Then she turned to me with this smug look and added, "You know, Alina's house is so beautiful. The kitchen is huge. The view is amazing. You should go see it sometime so you know what real property looks like." It wasn't even subtle. She said it directly, with no hesitation. Like her words were harmless and not small, sharp knives dressed as compliments. I just nodded politely and continued eating, because over the years, I had learned to pick my battles. And this wasn't one of them. Or so I thought. But Alina wasn't done. She pulled out her phone and started showing everyone pictures of her house, room by room, angle by angle, as if we were potential buyers and she was trying to close a deal. My mom hovered over her shoulder, gasping and praising every single detail. "Mashallah! So perfect. Look at this marble. See the lighting. Such taste." My dad joined in too, nodding approvingly, saying things like, "You've done well, Beta?" "Very well." And then, like a well-rehearsed performance, my mom turned to me and said, "You know, you should learn from your sister. She sets the bar high. You're still renting, right? Maybe someday you can buy something small at least. Something small." Those two words stung more than I wanted to admit. I wasn't angry. I was tired. Tired of always being underestimated. Tired of always being compared. Tired of always being placed beneath someone who didn't even appreciate how privileged her life had been. So without planning to, without preparing, without rehearsing, I did something that changed everything. I picked up my phone, unlocked it, opened the video tour my real estate agent had recorded, and I quietly placed my phone on the table. "Actually," I said calmly, "I bought a place too." Silence, heavy, unnatural silence. My mom blinked twice. My dad paused mid-chew. Alina's smile faltered. I clicked play. The video started with the entrance, the tall glass door, the premium flooring, the modern interior, the massive living room with panoramic windows overlooking the entire city. It looked like something straight out of an architectural magazine. My mom's eyebrows rose. My dad leaned forward. Alina's jaw literally dropped. And for the first time in my life, I saw my family unable to find words. Just shocked, frozen, and unable to process the reality that I, the average child, the one they always pitied, the one they always looked down on, had bought a place twice as expensive as my sister's home. And here's the best part: I didn't brag. I didn't explain. I didn't justify. I just let the video speak for itself. But right before the video ended, Alina asked in a cold, tight voice, "How much did this cost?" Her tone wasn't curious. It was threatened. And I answered honestly, 920,000, and the room froze again. But the real story, the real journey, the real emotional chaos that led up to that moment goes way deeper than that single dinner scene. So let me take you back. I grew up in a household where comparison was a daily routine. My sister's grades were always framed. Mine were put in a drawer. My sister's art projects were displayed proudly. Mine were called nice effort. When she cooked something mildly edible, my mom praised her like she had invented food. When I cooked something delicious, my mom said, "Good, now you can make this for your husband someday." Even career choices became a battlefield. My sister went into corporate banking with the help of my dad's friend, who pulled strings for her. I, on the other hand, struggled for years trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And every step of the way, I heard things like, "Why can't you settle properly? Why do you switch jobs so much? Why don't you be more like Alina?" Nobody knew the pressure I felt. Nobody knew how much it hurt to always be the second choice. And nobody knew how much strength it took to keep going even when my own family didn't believe in me. But after years of trying, failing, learning, building, and trying again, I eventually found my footing in the digital freelancing world. It wasn't glamorous at first, but I learned fast. I started taking bigger clients, managing digital marketing campaigns, eventually consulting for startups, and soon enough, I was making more money in a month than I used to make in an entire year. But I didn't tell my family. Why would I? They wouldn't understand. They wouldn't value it. They wouldn't believe it. And honestly, I didn't want to give them the satisfaction of comparing me to Alina again. So I worked in silence. I saved money in silence. I invested in silence. And when the opportunity came to buy a luxury condo, one I never imagined I'd ever afford, I took it. I signed the papers quietly, moved in quietly, furnished it quietly, and lived my life quietly. Until that dinner happened. But before I tell you what happened next, because trust me, the real drama hadn't even started yet, I need to ask you something. So that's the situation I was in. Years of being underestimated. Years of being dismissed. Years of being compared. And suddenly, one moment of truth that turned everything upside down. Before I continue and tell you exactly how my family reacted after the video ended, and what shocking things they said and did next, pause for a moment and tell me, what would you have done in my place? Would you have kept quiet and let them continue belittling you? Or would you have shown them the truth the same way I did? Think about it, because the next part of the story gets way more intense. When the video ended, no one spoke for at least 10 seconds, which felt longer than the entire childhood where I was taught to stay in my sister's shadow. My mom's expression wasn't shock anymore. It was confusion mixed with panic, the kind someone feels when their carefully crafted reality suddenly cracks. My dad looked like he was trying to calculate something in his head, maybe my salary, maybe how I had done something without his involvement, or maybe how this affected the family dynamic that had always revolved around Alina. And Alina, she looked like someone had yanked the crown off her head in the middle of a parade. Her lips were tight, her eyebrows stiff, her eyes narrowed. Not at the house, but at me, like my success was a personal attack instead of a personal achievement. She forced a laugh, a weak, shaky one, and said, "Ninety 2,920, I repeated calmly. Like almost a million, she asked again, her voice cracking as if her brain refused to accept the number. Yes, almost a million. And that was the moment everything inside the room shifted. It was like watching three people try to rebuild the hierarchy that had just collapsed. My mom stood up abruptly, grabbed the bowl of salad, and said in a way too casual tone, well, it looks nice. A bit too modern for my taste. And these condos, they're overpriced, you know, not like a proper house." The desperation in her voice was almost funny. She wasn't describing the condo, she was trying to shrink it down to a size where it no longer threatened her perfect narrative of, "Alina is the star, and you're the normal one." My dad cleared his throat and said, "You didn't tell us you were thinking of buying. You should have at least consulted. These decisions are big." Inside my head, I almost laughed. Consult? For what? Approval? Permission? Guidance from people who never believed in me? But out loud, I simply said, I wanted to handle it myself. He nodded slowly, not happy but too shocked to argue. But Alina, she wasn't done. "So you bought this place?" she asked, folding her arms tightly. "Like you own it?" "Yes," I said again, fully yes. Her jaw clenched. "But how? Don't you do some online job?" How can that afford $1 million condo? If she had slapped me, it would have stung less than those words. There it was. The disbelief, the assumption that I was incapable, the idea that my success had to be luck or a lie or something shady because it didn't fit the image she had of me. But I stayed calm. I worked. I invested. Invested? She repeated, as if the word itself was offensive coming from me. "Yes," I said. "Real estate, crypto, digital business growth. It took years." My mom jumped in quickly. "Well, maybe it's not even that expensive. The video could be edited. These developers use filters. You know?" The denial was getting embarrassing. "Mom," I said, "who's real? I can show you the paperwork." She didn't respond. She just looked away, like accepting my success would physically hurt her. That dinner ended awkwardly. They didn't congratulate me. They didn't ask to visit. They didn't say, "Mashallah," or "good job," or anything remotely close to encouragement. Instead, they kept talking about Alina's house like nothing had happened, forcing smiles, trying to stitch the old hierarchy back together. But the more they talked, the more tense the room became, because no matter how much they tried to pretend otherwise, the truth sat there between us. I had surpassed the daughter they always bet on. And they didn't know how to handle it. But trust me, the real drama started after that dinner. My mom called me the next morning. Her voice sounded sweet, too sweet, the kind she only used when she wanted something. "Betta," she began. "I was thinking, maybe tomorrow we can visit your new place. Just to see it properly." I almost rolled my eyes. For years she didn't care where I lived, how I lived, what I achieved. But the moment my condo threatened Alina's status, she suddenly wanted a tour. Still, I didn't say no. "Sure," I said. "Come tomorrow." "Good. And invite Alina too, okay?" I hesitated. "Isn't she busy?" No, my mom said quickly. "She wants to see it too, right?" She wanted to see it. Not because she cared, but because she wanted to examine, compare, dissect, and find flaws she could use to comfort herself. But fine, they could come. I was proud of my space and I had nothing to hide. When they arrived the next day, their reactions were something else. The moment they stepped into the lobby, their eyes widened. The place looked like a 5-star hotel, high ceilings, marble floors, botanical walls, soft lighting, modern architecture, and a scent of vanilla and citrus floating through the air. A uniformed concierge greeted them politely. My mom whispered, "Wa Allah," under her breath. My dad stared at the chandelier like it offended him. And Alina, she silently scanned every corner, chewing her lip, already threatened. When we reached the 18th floor and I opened the door to my condo, the reaction doubled. The living room was bright, open, and spacious. Floor-to-ceiling windows revealed a breathtaking view of the skyline. The interior was minimalist but luxurious, soft beige tones, gold accents, imported furniture, custom lighting. and everything polished to perfection. Alina let out a breath she didn't mean to release. My mom clutched her purse tighter. My dad pretended he wasn't impressed, but his eyes betrayed him. I gave them the full tour. The 2 bedrooms, the walk-in closet, the glass wall shower, the balcony with its panoramic view, the kitchen with its built-in appliances and marble counters, and then the private amenities floor, gym, sauna, rooftop infinity pool. It wasn't just a condo, it was a lifestyle they never imagined I could have. My mom finally spoke. It's good. Yes, very modern. Which was mom language for, I'm impressed but I refuse to admit it. Alina stepped into the guest bedroom. Your guest room is almost the same size as my master bedroom, she murmured, then instantly defensive added loudly, but houses have more space overall. My dad nodded. Yes. Houses are better long term. I smiled politely. Maybe. But this works for me. Then my mom asked the question she had been dying to ask since stepping through the door. So how much loan did you take? There's no loan, I said. Her face fell. 0. You bought it outright. Yes. Another hit to the hierarchy. My success didn't just match my sister's, it exceeded it. And I did it alone. That's when the jealousy started bubbling up in ways they couldn't hide anymore. Alina walked to the balcony and said quietly, but just loud enough, it's strange. You never seemed like the type who could afford this. I smiled. Maybe because you never paid attention. Silence. My mom then said, well, now that you have a big place, you should host more family gatherings. Like Eid dinners, birthdays, we can all come here. Suddenly, my condo wasn't mine. It was their new social bragging point. We'll see, I said. I work a lot? They didn't like that answer, but they moved on. And then came the line that told me everything about their true mindset. My dad said, you know, since your sister's house is bigger overall and she has a lawn and backyard, both of you are doing equally well. Equal. My place was worth almost double. But he said, qual, because accepting that I had surpassed her was unacceptable in their world. After they left that day, they didn't call me for a full week. Not to congratulate me. Not to appreciate me, not ask if I needed anything. Silence. Cold, jealous silence. And the weird part, I felt relieved. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't seeking their approval. I wasn't craving validation. I wasn't trying to compete. Their reactions didn't take anything away from my accomplishment, but the roller coaster wasn't done yet. The real explosion came 2 weeks later. Alina called, her tone was sharp, bitter cold. I heard, she said, that you're telling people you have a better place than me. My jaw dropped. What? I never said that. Mom said you're acting arrogant since you got that condo. Alina, I haven't said anything like that. They barely talked to me after the tour. Well, she snapped, Mom is upset. Dad too. They think you intentionally showed off to humiliate me. Humiliate her? Show off? Was showing evidence of my existence now considered an attack? I took a deep breath. Alina, I said, I'm happy you bought your house. But that doesn't mean I have to hide my own achievements to protect your ego. Silence. Then she exploded. You were always jealous! You couldn't stand that I was ahead of you? And now you're trying to prove something. And that was it. The moment of truth I had been avoiding for years. Alina, I said calmly, I'm not competing with you. But you and Mom always treated me like I wasn't allowed to succeed. Like only your success mattered. And now that I did something big on my own, you can't stand it. She scoffed. You're imagining things. Am I asked. Look at your reaction. Look at Mom's reaction. Nobody congratulated me. Nobody said they were proud. They only felt threatened. Well, she said bitterly, maybe if you didn't hide it like some secret mission, we wouldn't be surprised. I hid it because you all make everything into a competition, I said, finally raising my voice. You compare everything. You belittle everything. You always made me feel less. Silence again, heavy, thick. Then she whispered the truth she didn't mean to reveal. You were never supposed to buy something that big. Never supposed to. Not allowed, the unsaid rule. Finally spoken out loud. That's when something inside me snapped, not in anger, but in realization. My whole life I was raised to believe my lane was narrow and hers was wide. I was the background. She was the foreground. I was the supporting role. She was the star. And the moment I stepped out of my prescribed lane, the entire system collapsed. I exhaled slowly. Alina, I said quietly, I'm happy for you, truly. But I'm done shrinking myself to make you feel taller. She didn't know what to say. And maybe for the first time in her life, she couldn't argue. After that call, I distanced myself. Not dramatically, not with anger, just quietly, peacefully. I visited them less, I called less. I focused on my life, my work, my home, and strangely, the less I tried to fit into the role they gave me, the more peaceful my life became. My mom eventually reached out with a softer tone. My dad started asking casual questions about investments. Even Alina became less tense around me, though she still carried insecurity in her voice. But here's the truth, I didn't need them to change. I just needed to change my position in their lives. I didn't want to compete anymore, and I didn't want to be compared anymore. I just wanted to live. Free, confident, proud, and on my own terms. And maybe, just maybe, my success forced them to confront their own unfairness. Maybe they finally realized I wasn't a shadow. I was a whole person, someone capable, someone determined, someone who could shine without taking away anyone else's light. In the end, I learned something important. Your family may love you, but they might still limit you, not out of malice, but out of habit, and sometimes the only way to break free is to succeed loudly enough that silence becomes impossible. So if you ever feel underestimated, if you ever feel like your family has boxed you into a version of yourself you've outgrown, remember this, you don't need their permission to rise. You just need courage. And now that I've told you everything, the conflict, the journey, the confrontation, the aftermath, I want to leave you with this. If you were in my place, would you have stayed quiet that night, or would you have shown the video too? Like this video if you were on my side. Subscribe for more stories like this, and share your final thoughts in the comments. I want to hear what you think about this whole mess. I'll see you all in the next story.